A brief update, that did not go as planned. So I noticed that tank, the right tank, was pretty much empty, so I grabbed some fuel out of a jerry can, just put in 5 liters, and I could immediately, smell fuel.
Hopefully it fires into life. There we go.
Okay, we're almost back home. Let's try a little bit of acceleration over here. See how it goes through the gears. First gear.
Welcome back to Living with a Classic. Today is finally the day we're going to try and get the XJ12 up and running again. We tried this a couple of years ago. It was about a year and a half ago, I think, and it did not go so well. We had a major fuel leak in the back, and I purchased all new parts for all the fuel lines in the back, and I decided to do that. However, things sort of came in the way. Other things happened. I think the XJ6 blew a head gasket again, but we knew that. And a couple other things. And this just got put on the back burner. The first reason it got put away was that I was getting ready to do some small things on this car at the end of the driving season, right before the pandemic hit. And I put it away, pandemic hit, and I never took it out for that driving season, and then it sat, which is never a good thing. But it shouldn't take too much to get this on the road. It needs tires. We can talk about that a little bit later. I have a solution for that. It's freshly serviced. It has new plugs and wires and everything. It runs very well. It has some fuel leaks in the back. We'll have to look at that. And then there's a slight exhaust thing, which we may fix today, or we may just do that a little bit later. Because I think today we're just going to try and get this thing up and running and out of here. Or not today, but in today's video. But let's go back and check out the fuel situation. So we're going to start with the fuel system here in the back. Just have these tires here on the back. This thing sits normally on polished Kent wheels, but it had double tire blowout. So put these up on the back. We have already removed everything. This was in September of 2020 when I removed all this. So she's just been sitting like this. I've started her up every now and then to make sure everything circulates, and moved it a little bit so that the brakes don't seem to be stuck on, but we'll have to look at everything like that, of course. Got the fuel system back here. If you want a detailed look at this, I've already made a video explaining all the double tank features on the XJ. But I got 2 separate tanks with valves in here and 1 pump. I can just show you a little bit around the car in case you haven't seen it before. Got a lot of parts here for the XJS, but you see the polished Kent wheels in there. Yeah, it's very dark over here because we're not working on here right now, but that big V12 engine is in lovely condition, and it has a very, very nice black leather interior. But we'll show all this when we take it outside and clean it up, so you see it under some real lights. But I'll set some extra lights down here, and we'll try and solve this fuel leak issue. So the only thing it really needs is some new hose. I got some new high quality Gates hose, which can stand both pressure and ethanol and everything. Even though this will be no pressure on these hoses, this is just gravity fed from the tank that we're replacing. I've already replaced all of the high pressure stuff right before the car was brought off the road, and I did replace these when I put the car on the road when they've been sitting for about 17 years. So I replaced these maybe 3 or 5 years ago probably now. And yeah, the one outside there is leaking. And I also managed to get a hold of these, which are really rare. These are new old stock pipes. So how it works is, you see someone replaced them with just regular copper pipes here, but they're the wrong size. So you got hose here, pipe here, and then there's a little bit of hose by the tank as well, and then it goes into the tank. So the pipe here goes in the part of the bodywork here that's between the tank and the boot space where the muffler is. So that's where you have a metal pipe. And then down here, you got 2 hoses connection. So one thin and one thicker one. Thicker one is the outlet, and the thinner one is the return. Up there we have the drain. So we're going to start by draining the tank. Should be very, very low. Other side should be really low as well, because I just kept the liter or so in there now to get the car to run in here, because we're gonna do the other side as well, even though it's not leaking. Other than that, I want to try and move this valve a little bit, because last time I put it in, it was sort of close over here. It wasn't rubber or anything, but I put this in between. So we're gonna remove that a little bit, and we might touch up the paint in here a little bit. But yeah, let's get started. This thing is in two pieces. So the middle one is for draining, and then you have the bigger one out there that you can open, and there's a little filter in there. And there's also a gasket on that one. That's just like copper gasket, or copper washer. That gasket out there looks a little dry and cracked. I did replace that 8 or 9 years ago, something like that. But everything does age. So it's 9/16 in the bottom and 13/16 on this top one. So I like to hold the top one, and then you can fit that in there and do it, because otherwise it is very easy to undo them together. And I'm not expecting there to be much fuel in here. Don't remember if I did drain this or not before, but it's not leaking out there, so there can't be much left in this tank. Still a little bit. It's nice and clean though, the fuel that's coming out. This is probably what is below the level where it would go leak out of that hose. So, really nice and clean stuff though. I had to stop about halfway through, or I'm not sure how much of the way I am through with emptying that tank, because I pretty much filled up the tray already. And I got one of these funnels here that filters it, because it looks really, really good, the fuel coming out. It doesn't smell stale at all, and has a really good color. I did fill it up then in when we last had the car running, and I'm trying to think that there's probably more fuel in the tank than I thought. So possibly the leak is not from the big hose, the outgoing, but maybe the return line is what's actually leaking. So it was leaking when I was running it and returning fuel to that tank. So that may be the issue, but we're going to replace both anyways while we're in there. But I don't really think there's anything wrong with this fuel, so I am filtering it now, and I'll filter it one more time, and I'll run it in some car. I'll probably put this in the XJ6 or something that I am using at the moment, and use up this fuel. I have about half a tank in that of fresh stuff, so I can mix that with this, and it should run fine. Alright, it's just dripping now, so that is empty. And my theory now is starting to make sense, that it's probably the a return that was leaking. I mean, this was all a while ago, so I don't remember all of it, but I'm guessing I got about 10 liters of fuel out of there, which would make sense that I think I probably put 10 liters in there. I think I put about that on both sides when I got everything ready, and I was gonna, go out and drive it and actually take it and get tested. So that makes sense. But I'll pour this out into a container, keep that. Nothing really wrong with it. I'll mix it with some other stuff and just run it in the XJ6, like I said. But now with this drained, we're ready to loosen some hose clamps and start removing the old pipes and the old hoses. I decided to empty out the other tank as well, just so that, I can replace all the hoses at once. Wasn't as much in that one, but that I sort of knew because I ran it dry, and then I just poured in maybe 2 or 3 liters to get it up here. But in the other tank, like I said, I was wrong before. It was more like 6 liters. This is a 10-liter jug, or you can see, yeah, something like that, 5 or 6 liters. So now both fuel tanks are pretty much empty. Of course, there'll still be some fuel
in the lines here and all of that. But yeah, I will spill a little bit, put some rags in there to dry that out. And yes, of course, I do have a garage door open to air all this out because it does smell a bit in here. But I'm gonna get that fuel into a jug as well. Put that drain tray outside because it will smell a bit. Put the jugs out here, and then we can start tackling some of the hoses. Here's a closer look at the hose connections up here. I've loosened both of them. The small one here is the return. The big one here is the supply. Looks like a big crack in that one, but because of the amount of fuel in here, I think this is the one that was leaking, which is, all wet and fuel in this area and running out here. And that's why, this is all from the fuel. And in case you're wondering, that is actually not rust. That is something else. I think it's a little bit from the fuel and a little bit of gunk or something, or some of the under seal that sort of smeared that over there. Because overall, this car is actually rather solid. This is loose up here now. I just cut this off. Not reusing that. Doesn't matter if I get any marks in it. So you gotta be careful always when you cut fuel lines if you're reusing the fitting like I will here. I'm not gonna cut that because even a small little slice in something soft like copper lines here can cause a fuel leak. But this thing should be ready to pull out of here now. There we go. Someone made this in the 90s, I think, out of household water pipe. It's worked well, but it's not the best. This size is not the same as the other size as everything so it's used. It just got weird, but I've lived with it for a while. But now, since I got the new pipes, don't need that anymore. However, there's nothing wrong with these copper pipes. They are the correct size, so I will be reusing those, and I just will be replacing the fuel line on them. So I actually think I'm going to leave that in place. Maybe we can have a look if that will even be possible. But I think, yeah, I have access in there to replace that little piece of fuel line there. It's already loose up here. So that will leave that in place. But let's get the same pipe out from the other side, and then we can see what the new old stock pipes, how they fit. It's the next night, and a lot of work has actually been done, but it's been the sort of work that I couldn't really film, and it's just really tight and lying my back. But the new hard lines are in, and the returns I've reused, and I have new hoses all the way under in here. I'm trying to show that real quick, but the connections back here. So that is all new hoses. Tried to use as short piece as I can, so the metal pipe starts really much right here where the muffler starts. So all of that is set up and tightened. So the only thing really left to do is everything in here, which is quite a lot. I've decided I'm going to change a couple things. I'm going to change the locations of the valves a little bit, move them a bit more up here, because in their old locations, which I'm not sure if they were stock or not, I mean, this part has been replaced at some point. You can see it's been welded in a long time before I've had the car, so I think they just drilled the holes where I thought they should be. They've always been very close to the spare wheel, so I'll clean up this area, I'll put the spare wheel back in, and then we'll see where to put these. But I think, I'm not sure, but I think the return is going to go like somewhere here. Maybe it was down there before. Just sort of move everything up a little bit, but spare tire needs to go in to figure out where everything can go. As you can see, space is pretty tight. So yeah, I'm glad I put the tire in. A few things that I've noticed is on these pipes, I think there's a right and left version. These are the only ones I can get a hold of. I think they're both left ones I've had. I've already bent this a little bit because it was sticking up that way before. So I'm going to bend that a little bit. So I think this goes on the other side of the bracket here, which is for if you have the other fuel pumps, if you have an XJ6 or, an earlier XJ12. So I think that will need to be done. This, I will bend that a little bit straighter instead of going this way. And this is the return So I think we're going to put it right there. So we'll get a straight little hose there. This will swoop over down there a little bit, and then this return goes on there, so that will work well. And with the return over there, this is the inlet one, and I don't want it to be too big of a swoop down to the pump. So I'm actually thinking maybe we'll fit the return even higher up, somewhere like here, and then we'll fit this one, the inlet, basically where I had the return before, I think. So that will be a good hose there. That hose will go there. That will be a nice soft one there. I'm gonna move things around a little bit, try and figure this out and put this into place, and then we can start putting on the new hoses. After a bit of trial and error, this is what I came up with, and I think it's gonna work pretty well. So the return will sit down here. This hose here will have to be a little bit longer and go on there, and that will go right there. Be a pretty soft bend there. Then the inlet will go here, so this will, I'm trying to move it a little bit more so it's on the other side, otherwise I don't think that's going to be an issue. That will go to here, this will go to here, and this will be a bit of a swoop, but it can also go up a little bit, that doesn't matter. So I'm going to put all these new hoses on here. I am also going to replace the rest of the return here. I think the only one hose I'm going to leave is this one, because that's of the same quality that I've used now. All the other ones were quite expensive, but they definitely, they're not drying out. They're very nice and soft, but they do let through a tiny bit of smell of petrol, and I want to get rid of that. So we'll replace all of this. I'm not going to bore you with that. Put it all back, and the next time you see this, this should all be together, and we should probably be ready to go get some fuel. Couple hours later, and it's all together, and every single hose back here is new. All the ones to the tank, from the tank, around here, they're all brand new. Just because I want to start over fresh, and I have these gates which are supposed to have like a barricade in them to not let any smell through, which was the issue with even some pretty expensive new hoses I put here before for the fuel coming out of the fuel pump. It would never leak, and they were nice and soft, but it would smell of fuel. Like you could, like it wasn't that bad. It wasn't like a fuel spill, but if you put your nose against them, you could smell fuel. So I'm hoping that this will solve that issue, because that was always an annoying thing. I don't like the smell of fuel in my cars if I don't have to. So all of this is together. The next thing is I picked up a new one of these plugs for the other tank, because someone in the past had welded or soldered the nut onto here. So whenever you have to empty that tank, you have to take the whole plug out. So I picked up a new plug, new washer and crush washer for that side. I do have a new seal. That's a new crush washer and seal for this side as well. So we'll put all that into place. Then I'm gonna go get some fuel. We'll fill up the tanks slowly at first, make sure we have no leaks, test fire it. If we don't have any leaks, we can put the panels on under here, put the bumper back on, roll this thing out. We'll do something about those tires. We'll get in that a little bit, and maybe go for a little test drive. Moment of truth now. Let's start by filling the right tank, or just putting 5 liters or so in there, and let's see how things are. Like I said, got new seals and everything in the bottom, and I went over every single hose clamp, double checked, and it all should be nice and tight. But just in case, I have a drip pan underneath to catch some fuel, because well, fuel's gotten too expensive to just let it pour out on the ground. Okay, that's enough. It should be about
5 liters or so, and then we can put the other half of that on the other side, and I got about 20 more at home. We'll close that. Everything feels nice and dry everywhere. Let's have a look. Looks nice and dry around here also. I'll put another 5 on the other side. We go get battery and the keys, and we'll fire it up, see if we have any leaks anywhere, see that it returns the correct tanks, and all that works before we put in any more fuel. Got battery in it. It's the old battery from the XJS, which I replaced, but I put it on charge all day, so hopefully it should start the thing up anyways. Do need to get a new battery for this car because the one that was in it got used for something else when this thing got taken off the road. But that thing would have been, pretty much dead after 3 years anyways. But let's start on the right tank. So button out. And we got to cycle the key a bit to get fuel. Priming. There we go. I can hear everything returning. But let's just go back, make sure we got no leaks anywhere. Everything is really nice and dry. Same here. Nice and dry. All right, let's see if it fires up. It does have, probably a bit of air in the system and all of that, but hopefully it fires into life. There we go. And we got oil pressure as well. Let's go back and see that we got fuel returning to this tank. We do have a nice flow of fuel down there, so that is working. Everything is nice and fuel tight. Nothing dripping anywhere. But let's switch it to the left tank. Make sure that that return system all works. That's a little dark and hard to see. I'm gonna grab a flashlight. And we got fuel flowing back very nicely that side as well. So everything appears to be working as it should. You can see got something dripping over there, but I actually think that's coming from the exhaust. But let's turn it off and have a look at that. Now that drip is just condensation from the exhaust here. So fuel system is working as it should, and there's that new plug you can see. I'd call that a huge success. I'm going to put the covers under the fuel tanks on, bumper back on, everything back together, spare wheel, all of that. Just button everything up. We're going to put some new wheels on it and go for a test drive. Not sure if I'll have time for all of that today, but getting the fuel system sorted and all of that, that is a big milestone for this car. The fuel tank covers are on. Got the bumper back on. First time in a year and a half, the car is starting to look complete. It's really dusty, of course, just like the rest of the car. It's been in storage, but we're going to give it a wash when we take it out of here. Next thing is the wheels, and I promised we'd have a look at that. And here they are. Nice white walls. You might recognize them as the wheels and tires from the Daily Driver XJ6, which has the winter tire still on it at the moment. So I just had these laying in storage, just gave them a nice cleaned up the white walls. And there's a couple of reasons. One is I've always wanted to see what this car would look like with white walls. I think it will look really cool. And the other reason is a bit of an economical one as well. So I got two, or technically three vehicles that need new tires this year. Range Rover needs new summer tires. The XJS I'm finishing up needs new tires. And this car needs new tires. However, a customer and a friend of the channel dropped off a pair of pretty much brand new studless winter tires, Toyo ones, that will fit any XJ. So what I think I'll do, I'll put those on those rims over there for the daily driver, because the daily driver XJ6, I'm not really going to drive that in the summer because it doesn't have AC. I'll drive this thing, I'll drive the XJ40, I'll drive the XJS, but I don't think I will drive that thing that much in the summer, just because I drive it the rest of the year and then I want to use these cars. So I could fit studless winter tires on there, which I can drive in the summer as well on. There's no issues with them. They'll just be a tiny bit more noisy, but they'll have good grip in the rain and all that won't be an issue. And then these white walls over here could maybe permanently go on the Kent wheels on here, but we'll just mount them on this for now with the hubcaps and everything. See what it looks like, see how the car feels, see if I like them on there. And if I do, that will probably happen. And now I'm going to mount them, and then we're getting pretty ready to get the car out of here, give it a wash, go for a little bit of a test drive.
Got the last wheel coming up here, and being completely honest, I'm not sure what I think of these white walls on here. They look amazing on my green XJ6. However, I've always wanted white walls on this car, but I'm not sure if it works, just because the car is not, it's a little off-white, it's old English white. So, I don't know, it's also kind of really dirty at the moment, so maybe it looks better when I clean it off. This car always looks whiter when it's clean, but yeah, I'm not completely sure about the look, but I mean, it's worth a try. Otherwise, I'll just have to, bite the bullet and buy tires. It's not that expensive, but I just thought that it'd be nice to have a use for these tires if I plan to put those all seasons on the XJ6. So we'll button this up, go outside, give this thing a bit of a wash, and hopefully just go for a little test drive. I did notice one thing, forgot to show it right there. The rubber boot or the gator around the tie rod end seems to have disappeared. So I'm gonna see if I have something laying around, a boot or something. Otherwise, I'll just order a set of tie rod ends. There's no play or anything in them, but I've never replaced them on this particular car. But yeah, tighten everything up, roll outside, and let's see what looks in the sunshine. Probably look better with the hubcaps on as well, even though these aren't the wheels I would like to have on the car. But it's a good experiment to see if the white walls actually work on a white car. Looking a lot better after just a wash. Just a quick one to get the dirt off. I mean, this needs to detail and all of that, but not looking bad at all. Sadly, the sun is gone, but I did promise you guys a test drive. So we'll go for a brief around the block, and we brought a dog. Little new family member here, seeing if she likes the car rides. Basically, it's just a shakedown cruise, just seeing that everything is doing what it's supposed to do, that none of the brakes are binding, or that nothing is, weird, that it goes up to operating temperature. That slight little noise is from the heater fan. I think it needs some lubrication on the bearing on the left one here, but otherwise, I think we're doing pretty well. Just you can see here, we're about to meet the garbage truck here. I'm gonna pull over a little bit, let that pass, and then we'll continue on our drive. I don't know, it's taking forever for some reason, so we're actually going to reverse up a little bit here, and we can go the other way instead. The only thing I'm sort of wondering is I might be a little bit low on transmission fluid. I know this thing was leaking a tiny bit. I did add about 1 liter or so, but maybe we actually need a little bit more. So I'm actually going to just drive back towards the house, and we'll check the level before we continue on our little test drive, or we'll just pull up over here and check the level. That's by far the longest distance I've reversed in this car, but let's see. All right, definitely in first gear. And that's second, and that's third. But we're still gonna pull up over here. We'll just check on that dipstick, make sure we're not dangerously low. Because I realized I never did check that. Let's check the level here. It's quite windy. I think I have to hold the bonnet a little bit. It's very, very windy today. Alright, we'll check on the cold side because we're still not up to any real temperature. Yeah, we're pretty low on fluid. Let's just make a little bit of a trip back to the house. We'll fill up and we'll try this again. We're on the minimum between, or not the minimum, right between the minimum and the maximum on the hot side. But not news, things are going well. AC is working, heat is working. We got good temperature, oil pressure is good. That's at idle and raising it up. Definitely does come up. That is really good. Engine's running well. Tach is not working, but that was an issue before. I'm gonna have a look at that. But seems to be charging and everything else. So we'll do a little bit of a test drive again. Let's see if it accelerates better in first gear now. Yeah, that was much better shifting. We're in second. And that third. And we're about 50 kilometers an hour. All right, now it's starting to feel like the car that I remembered. It was just really, really peppy, and it's sometimes hard to tell if a transmission is slipping or not if you don't have a tach. But it felt like nothing was happening until I put my foot down a lot. So good thing we turned back and checked that. And I might sound really reckless, but I did add 1 liter before leaving. I didn't think it had leaked that badly. This transmission likes to leak when it sits. Torque converter drains, doesn't leak otherwise, or not that much at least. And I've checked all the other fluids. Coolant was good, oil's perfect. Everything is. Oil was brand new when this thing was put away, so nothing really wrong with that. And other than that, I think it's going well. It definitely needs to just go and blow the cobwebs out. I'm going to put some injector cleaner in as well. This thing needs that from time to time. It really does help it a lot. And just, a long burst down the highway at some high speeds, and it just feels a lot better. But we gotta wait till we have, it road legal, an MOT for that. So now we're doing the best thing we can here, but just driving it around. If everything goes well, when I come back, I'm gonna book the, not the nearest or closest. What do I mean? Well, as soon as I can, I'm gonna book an inspection time for this thing, try and get it in. We're just gonna fix a couple of things before that. Fix that little tie rod end thing. Just go around, check that all lights are okay, and just go underneath and make sure it doesn't look like a bloodbath after that transmission. So just wipe that down so it doesn't look like a massive oil leak. And other than that, I think we should be good to have it back on the road. There are of course still things I want to do. There's that slight exhaust leak, especially when it's cold. I'm gonna sort that out, but I just felt like, what, it's time to get this thing on the road and to be able to go out and enjoy it, because otherwise it's going to be put on the back burner. It's really easy when you have a car that is not on the road, and it's not been on the road for 3 years now. It's easy to just let it sit, and suddenly that turns into 8 years or something, And that is not what I want to happen. I want to continue, you know, using and driving this thing. But I definitely, you know, want to keep fixing things. It's definitely not a perfect car by any means. It's not a show car or anything. It needs a paint job and a few other small things, but it does normally run and drive very well. It does need some suspension work up front. They've never said anything at the inspection, but all the bushings are kind of old. I do have a complete bush set for it, so maybe at some point we'll do that. Ball joints and everything. Rear end, everything is brand new and that, so it's just a front left. But yeah, it's done 83,531 kilometers. And when I got it, it was at 69,000 or just at 70,000, something like that. So I've driven it quite a bit in the years I've had it, and it's been absolute joy. And it's going to be just fantastic to have a choice to take either a 12-cylinder or 6-cylinder version of the exact same car out for a drive. I'm going to continue my little round trip here. It's about 5 kilometers or so, and we'll get back. The only thing I really want to do is just have a feel around the brakes, make sure that it doesn't really feel draggy or anything, but it's very hard to feel draggy brakes when you have a 5.3 liter V12 up front. Okay, we're almost back home. Let's try a little bit of acceleration over here. See how it goes through the gears. First gear, second. I mean, we're already going way too fast here, but the go, and there it shifts into third. So, engine is peppy, it's all there. Slight thumping there is the exhaust needs to be rehanged, but I haven't bothered because of that leak. So, one whole side needs to be taken down and put back together. So, that will happen, but that's a slight bumping on the hard acceleration. Could probably do with engine mounts as well. I think they're probably original, but let's not get ahead of ourselves at the moment. I think this test drive has gone really well. I call that a great success. I mean, used to go out and driven more, but that's exactly what we're gonna do. I went around and felt all the calipers. They're all nice and cold. So nothing like that seems to be weird. Brakes are working fine. Pedal feels good. Everything else shifts as it should. It's keeping temperature, good oil pressure. The best part is our new little friend here fell asleep. So someone does like car rides, which is a good thing. In this family where we do a lot of driving, and yeah, I know we're gonna go inside, you're tired. It's just the second day here, so it's a lot of new stuff to get used to. Anyways, if you liked this video, please give a thumbs up, share it with friends. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. It really does help out a lot. If you want to see more videos like this, you can check out my previous videos. There's close to 300 on the channel now. Lots of things on various V12s, XJSs, other classic cars, my daily driver XJ6. Lots of fun things to check out. Anyways, until next time, I'm Adam. This was Living with a Classic. I'll see you soon.